Let me tell you about the night Route 9 turned into the worst nightmare of my life. It wasn't anything dramatic, you see. No screeching tires, no fiery explosion, nothing out of a movie. Just a slow, creeping sense of dread that settled in my gut like a bad omen. It was a Saturday night, typical graveyard shift for a delivery driver like me. Route 9, cutting through the belly of Nevada, was usually desolate after dark. Just endless stretches of highway, the occasional truck stop blinking like a lone eye in the darkness, and the endless starry sky overhead. I liked the quiet, the radio humming along with the steady thrum of the engine, my headlights carving a path through the inky blackness. This particular night, though, felt different. It was like the air itself was holding its breath. The radio, usually a faithful companion, sputtered and died with a weak crackle. I frowned, reaching over to fiddle with the knobs, but nothing worked. Silence filled the cab, broken only by the rhythmic hum of the engine. It was a heavy silence, pressing down on me. Then, the first flicker. Faint, almost imperceptible at first, on the edge of my vision. A movement to the left, out on the vast emptiness of the desert beyond the shoulder. I squinted, trying to focus through the darkness. Maybe a coyote, I thought, dismissing it. But a prickle of unease crawled up my spine nonetheless. A few miles down the road, another flicker. This time, a little closer, a little more definite. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum solo in the sudden quiet of the car. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles turning white. There was something out there. I couldn't make it out, just a fleeting glimpse of movement, a dark shape darting behind a scraggly bush, then gone. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before, not quite an animal, not quite human. The next few miles were the longest of my life. Every rustle of wind, every shadow cast by the uneven terrain sent a jolt through me. I kept my eyes peeled, searching the desolate landscape, the silence pressing down like a suffocating weight. Then, the engine sputtered. A cough, a hesitation, a final, shuddering groan before it died altogether. I coasted for a while, the silence broken only by the whine of the dying momentum, dread blooming in my chest like a poisonous flower. Stranded. In the middle of nowhere, with a dead car and a growing sense of unease that was turning into full-blown terror. I fumbled for my phone, the screen a pale rectangle of light in the suffocating darkness. No signal. Of course, there wouldn't be. I sat there for what felt like hours, the only light coming from the faint glow of the dashboard. Every rustle in the distance sent me bolting upright, straining to see through the inky blackness. The air, once cool and dry, now felt thick and heavy, carrying with it an unseen menace. As the first sliver of dawn peeked over the horizon, painting the eastern sky with a tentative blush of pink, a new fear gnawed at me. I couldn't stay here. Whatever was out there, it wouldn't be any kinder in the daylight. I grabbed my toolbox, a pathetic weapon against whatever lurked in the shadows, and stepped out of the car. The desert air hit me like a slap, crisp and cool, carrying with it the scent of dry earth and something else. A metallic tang that sent a shiver down my spine. The sun, a pale orange disk now, cast long, skeletal shadows from the scrubby bushes that dotted the landscape. I started walking, following the faint, barely there line of the highway, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Every creak of a branch, every rustle of wind sounded amplified in the vast emptiness. I kept looking back, searching for any sign of movement, any glint of something unnatural in the harsh desert light. Hours bled into one another, the relentless sun beating down on my back. My throat felt parched, my legs ached, but the fear kept me going. The thought of staying put, of facing whatever it was that lurked in the shadows, was a terrifying prospect. Then, in the distance, a glint of metal. A mirage? My eyes blurred, sweat stinging my vision. But no, it was there, a glint of chrome catching the sunlight. A truck stop. A beacon of hope in this desolate wasteland. I stumbled towards it, legs shaking, throat burning with thirst. The closer I got, the more details I could make out. It was a small, run-down place, the kind you see clinging to life on forgotten stretches of highway. The pumps were rusted, the windows boarded up, the paint peeling in long, sad strips. Yet, it was a sign of life, a potential savior. With a burst of adrenaline, I pushed open the creaking door. A stale, dusty smell assaulted my nostrils. Cobwebs draped the interior like ghostly curtains. Empty shelves mocked me, their peeling price tags taunting with promises of water and snacks I desperately craved. Then, a sound. A scraping noise from behind the counter. My breath hitched, hand instinctively flying to the toolbox clutched in my sweaty grip. My heart hammered a frantic tattoo against my ribs. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and gaunt, silhouetted against the dusty window. It moved with a slow, deliberate shuffle, its form obscured by the gloom. "Can I help you?" The voice rasped, dry and gravelly. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I stammered, my voice hoarse from thirst and fear. My car broke down miles back. Cell service is dead." The figure didn't move, remaining shrouded in the dim light. "A car trouble, huh? Happens out here sometimes." A pause, then, "You look like you could use a drink." Relief washed over me, momentarily pushing aside the lingering fear. Water. That's all I needed. I could call for help from here, get a tow truck. Everything would be all right. The figure shuffled closer, reaching under the counter. A metallic clink, then a bottle appeared, condensation clinging to its dusty surface. Take it," the voice rasped. My hand trembled as I reached for the bottle. It was water all right, the generic label barely visible through the grime. I unscrewed the cap, the sound echoing unnaturally in the silent room. But something stopped me. Something about the weight of the bottle, the way the light glinted off the liquid inside, it wasn't right. Panic clawed at my throat. I didn't trust this place, this figure, this sudden appearance in the middle of nowhere. Thanks, but I think I'll just head back to my car and wait for a signal." My voice sounded weak, even to my own ears. The figure remained motionless, the bottle extended in its hand. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, a slow, chilling smile spread across the shadowed face. It was a smile filled with too many teeth, gleaming unnaturally white in the dim light. "You don't understand, son," the voice rasped, a hint of amusement creeping into its gravelly tone. "There's nowhere to go back to. You're already here." The bottle clattered to the floor, its contents spilling onto the dusty tiles. I stumbled back, the toolbox slipping from my numb fingers. The figure took a step forward, and in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a truck stop. This wasn't a beacon of hope. This was the end of the line. And whatever lurked in the shadows of this desolate place, it had been waiting for me. I turned and ran, the sound of my own ragged breaths the only companion in the suffocating silence. But a deep, chilling laugh echoed behind me, a sound that promised a slow, agonizing end on this forgotten stretch of highway.